Hi, I'm David. Welcome to my channel, My Yard Sale. Hey, today I want to talk about insulin resistance. How I want to talk about how important insulin is to your body and how insulin resistance can cause issues throughout your entire body. So, first of all, I just want to say that I have been insulin resistant for a very long time, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 35, 40 years. I have no idea. I know that as a kid, I started off with high sugar in my diet, and it's possible I could be insulin resistant from when I was 10 years old. I don't really know, but I have been insulin resistant for a very long time. I never, I'd heard of insulin before, but I would have never known what insulin is, used for in the body, or what insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity is. I would have never known. Even as I started becoming more insulin resistant and started having actual physical results from that, I still wouldn't have known. I was still eating sugar and candy, runts and just candies. I was eating candy and sweets and cereal, and I just never would have thought that that was spiking my insulin and causing me problems. I was always worried about eating too much fat, and that was the things that I thought that I physically and healthy wise needed to worry about. So one thing about insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity that I want to make sure that I stress the point of is every cell in your body uses insulin. The cells need insulin sensitivity to use sugars and glucose to fuel the body. That's literally every cell in your body. And what that means is that insulin resistance or low insulin sensitivity can negatively impact every function in the body. I don't want to say your body, my body, the body. Every function in the body can be affected negatively by low insulin sensitivity or just insulin issues in general. As an example, neuropathy is when your nerves don't work right because of different nerve issues, but insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity is one of those things that can cause neuropathy. Retinopathy, a lot of eye problems are caused by insulin resistance and insulin issues causing eyes to not work right, causing a person's eyes to not work right. Now, all this is coming to my attention more, not because I want to tell people more about it, but because as I'm reversing my insulin resistance, increasing my insulin sensitivity, and trying to get my body back healthy and functional again, which I'm just going to say has been extremely difficult and not fun at all. But as I'm getting insulin sensitivity back, I'm starting to get resolution with things in my body that I didn't even realize I had problems with. So, again, every part of your body, every function, every system in your body is attached to insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance if you can't use insulin. So, I mean, I'm starting to find things that they're not necessarily are getting better, like where I'm cured. It's not like that. But what I am starting to notice is that things are starting to resolve that I didn't even realize I had an issue with, which is actually pretty interesting. Um, and a lot of things, there's probably a lot of things that I may not even go see a doctor to get resolution with or get help with because it was just body system things. And I would have never thought that that was because I ate too much, too many Cocoa Puffs and, cereal. I would eat cereal for dinner. I would never think that that would be, what would cause some of these body issues. So as my insulin sensitivity is returning, and I am having difficulties with my insulin sensitivity coming back, and I did a post on that a couple days ago that I'll link that here. Please check that out, and just maybe it'll help you. I don't know. But so as my body is definitely getting insulin sensitivity back, some of these things in my body are starting to resolve. And what that concerns me with is the fact that people are having problems in their body, not even realizing that it's insulin sensitivity issues. You go to the doctor diagnoses something, send you for a test, a $3,000 test or an MRI or whatever it is that they want to send you the test for, and then they prescribe you some bullshit, basically, when a lot of times it could possibly be tied back to insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance, and could be tested with a blood sugar test or an insulin sensitivity test in your blood sugar. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a healthcare specialist, so I don't know what the tests are. I don't know exactly what tests they can do for insulin sensitivity, but I know there are tests. I don't know if it's one that you can prick your finger and get, or if you have to actually get a blood test. I don't know how that works. But insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance, I think would be the first thing that I would check if I was having a problem that I couldn't explain or that my doctor seemed like they were just stabbing at things trying to figure it out. I would get my insulin sensitivity checked, insulin resistance checked, and then probably a blood sugar test, A1C. So, again, the purpose of this post is to just bring some awareness to the fact that insulin is used throughout your entire body in all systems in your body, and and issues that a person's having could potentially be tied back to insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity without having to deal with all the BS that all the doctors are bringing with all their paid sponsorship from drug companies and just all the bullshit that they get sponsored by. So again, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't go see a doctor. You should go see a doctor. But what I am suggesting is that it seems like a lot of the issues, definitely that I've had, which can be pretty serious, um, and a lot of the issues that I've researched and seen and just kind of studied on YouTube and just in general, a lot of that can be tied back to insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance, and just metabolic insulin issues. So again, before I would lean too hard on a doctor or medical specialist outside of, if you break a bone, yes, go see a doctor. don't think that that's because of insulin resistance. But just inside physical problems, I would make sure that I'm getting my insulin checked in my body, insulin sensitivity checked, and blood sugars checked before I put too much of a investment in letting a doctor try to figure out what's wrong with me when potentially I could just stop eating, you know, Cookie Crisp or cookies. And that over a period of 2 to 3 months could resolve my issue versus a lifetime of drugs and just going to see in doctor visits. Again, I'm not suggesting that people should not go see doctors. You should go see a doctor if you feel like you need to. But just note that if like as an example, if you're having problems with your eyes and it's retinopathy because of high blood sugars and insulin resistance in your eyes, if you go see an eye doctor, they are not going to check your insulin sensitivity and try to figure out whether you have high blood sugars. They're going to put you in a little machine, look at your eyes, and they're going to prescribe you whatever, your prescription is to try to resolve, to try to just mask the actual issue of your eyesight. Even though, and I'm actually experiencing this now, it's in a good way and a bad way for me because it's hard to tell whether my eyes are getting worse because I'm getting older or whether they're getting better because my blood sugars are much better. It's hard to tell. But again, like I was saying, if you go see an eye doctor, they are not going to tell you that it's possible that your insulin, resistance or your blood sugars are so high that your eyesight is affected because of the nerves in your eyes are affected. They're going to sell you a $600 pair of glasses and set you up for another 3 years of doctor visits so that they can monitor your eyes over the next 3 years, which again is the right thing to do in a lot of cases. But in some cases, maybe maybe it's health and blood sugars that could be resolved and fixed to fix the issue in the long run. Even though in the short run you may need glasses, in the long run you may need less of a prescription. As an example, these glasses that I'm wearing now are from 15 years ago. I broke my glasses that I had from 5 years ago. They snapped in half and I broke them. And somehow my eyes have, I don't want to say healed, but have reversed. My eyes have reversed to the point where I'm now wearing glasses that I was wearing 15 years ago. Maybe this is where it'll stop. Maybe they'll just keep getting better. Maybe my eyesight was always an issue because of insulin resistance. Because again, I was a sugar fiend. I loved sugar as a kid. And I was fed sugar as a kid. Never thought anything of eating less sugar or worried about eating too much sugar. I just ate whatever I wanted, and I had become insulin resistant enough that my body was just flushing out the sugars as fast as possible, and all along the way, of course, my body was getting damaged, but I didn't gain weight. I never became a diabetic where I gained weight. So again, there's all these things that can be diagnosed as some other diagnosis. And I think a lot of these things can be tied directly back to insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity, and metabolic issues that can potentially just resolve by eating a proper diet. And I know that there's people that would love to fight over whether that would be ketovore or carnivore or vegan or whatever, and I'm not going to suggest any of that. But what I am going to suggest is diets that are, if you don't know what the names of the ingredients on the list of the product is, you probably shouldn't be eating it. If there's more than 10 items on a list, then probably you shouldn't be eating it. Even now, it's getting to a point where you can buy things that should have 3 items on the list, but they have 30. Those items you should probably be, avoiding. So any health issue that I have or would have going forward, and what I wish I would have done 6 or 10 years ago, is I wish I would have realized that those issues that I was having could have been related to metabolic problems with um, with diabetes, prediabetes, and insulin issues. So the first thing that I would do if I had a medical issue is I would have my insulin checked. I would have my H1C, which is blood sugars. I would have that checked, and I would just see where does that fall? Because it's quite possible that over a period of 30 days to 90 days, those items can be resolved and potentially the issues that they caused can be reversed. And again, like I said earlier, I've had issues that are clearly tied directly back to insulin resistance because as my insulin sensitivity is coming back finally, I'm starting to get some resolution on some of those things. I'm not going to go through the list of those things um, just because in some cases it's not really YouTube worthy, and I don't want to waste people's time with it. But there's a whole laundry list of things like all the systems in your body. Once insulin sensitivity becomes an issue and insulin resistance becomes the issue, those systems can become more and more broken as the body systems become less and less functional because of insulin resistance. So again, the final point that I want to make after all this rambling is that if you're having a problem with your body that easily isn't easily addressed, like again, if you break a bone, the bone is broken, you can get it fixed. But if you're having problems with your body that don't necessarily make sense but is still an issue, I'm going to strongly suggest getting that insulin sensitivity checked, getting that HbA1c blood sugar test, because it could be blood sugars and insulin issues. And I'm hoping that I'm wasting my time doing this video because people aren't having all the issues that I've had. But I don't think that's the case considering the fact that 92 to 96% of people in the United States and the world have insulin related issues, and everybody loves the sugar. And I know that because I love sugar too. So I hope this is an interesting post, and I actually hope that anybody who this helps realize that maybe they have an issue that they aren't addressing, maybe they'll get it figured out and get beyond it before it becomes a major issue, which these things do become major issues as the body slowly starts becoming less functional because of insulin and just blood sugar issues. Like the problems really do escalate pretty quickly, to the point where probably medical intervention does make sense. And at that point, I mean, what are you going to do? I don't know that they would even be able to figure it out at that point. They'd be sending people for tests that they don't necessarily need, that aren't going to do any good. And quite frankly, people just needed to slow down on the ho-hos and the cookies. Anyway, so if you're enjoying the sugar and treats, I'm not going to suggest that people don't do that to control their insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance. I'm just going to suggest that people moderate that in a ketogenic diet. Like eat 100 grams of carbs, sugar, a day or less. Less probably is better, but eat the 100 grams. Enjoy it. And then the rest of your diet, eat things that have single or 3 items on the list of ingredients. And that will help resolve this insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance issue, and hopefully resolve things that maybe you didn't even know were a problem yet. I hope this is an interesting post. And if so, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up. If you're subscribed, thank you guys all so much. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.